Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Lineal Rights. How did I get here? In this episode, I'll take you on a journey through how music has been a vital part of my life since childhood, shaping the person I am today. Every detail I share comes straight from the heart. No fabrications, no exaggerations. Are you ready to step into my world and explore the stories that shape lineal rights? If so, buckle up. It's time to dive in. There is a disclaimer I am supposed to share. This episode contains content related to suicide, which may be distressing to some listeners. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out for help. You can contact the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988 or visit 988lifeline.org. You are not alone. My kindergarten teacher, whose name I sadly can't remember, was the one who taught me how to play the piano. How do I know? My mom told me. She also mentioned how strict and demanding my teacher was. Since I don't remember much about those piano lessons, I can't say for sure if I enjoyed them. The piano was the first instrument I ever learned. By 5th grade, I decided to try the violin. That experiment lasted about a month before my parents grew tired of the constant screeching. What can you expect from a 10-year-old beginner? Sure, there are young prodigies who can master the violin, but I wasn't one of them. So, the violin was put away for good. In middle school, I picked up the clarinet. I found it fascinating, even though my cheeks and lips often felt like they'd never recover from blowing into the mouthpiece. I stuck with it for about a year. Somewhere along the way, I gave the tenor saxophone a try, but by then, I was ready to leave woodwind instruments behind. When I started high school, I decided to join the choir. I needed an extracurricular activity, and playing sports wasn't exactly my thing. My brother was the athletic one in the family. He played sports growing up while I went in the opposite direction. Choir turned out to be a lot of fun. The group was full of talented singers, and our choir director was incredible. He was passionate about his work, though I'm sure he was underpaid for all the effort he put into teaching and directing us. My first year in choir flew by. We performed at a few local community events, and that was it. Then came my sophomore year, when I moved up to jazz choir. That's when things really started to heat up. I still have photos from my high school days. My mom keeps them stored at her house, and whenever I visit, I enjoy flipping through them and reminiscing. There are a few school photos of me holding an acoustic guitar, striking a pose. Looking at those pictures, I can't help but laugh. I looked so different and so young back then. But let's get back to jazz choir. The year I joined, our group entered a state competition. Burlington High School had a reputation for excelling at these competitions, so the pressure was on. Our choir director held auditions for some solo parts, and of course, I auditioned. Unfortunately, I didn't get the part. Instead, it went to someone taller, more poised, and with stronger vocal control. We didn't win the competition that year, but it was still a great experience. We continued singing at local community events like we had the year before, which was always a lot of fun. That same year, I also joined the thespian club. If my dad had been around when I was in high school, he probably would have told me to skip the extracurriculars and focus on my studies. But my dad wasn't there. My mom was, and she was fully supportive of everything my sibling and I wanted to do. In our school's production of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, I played a disgruntled man. My role was small, just one line. Get him! Yep, that was it. I think the play director was trying to make sure every cast member, even the extras, had at least one moment to shine. Or maybe not. We'll never know. Jazz choir and the thespian club kept me busy, along with my studies. One day, I came across a flyer for the annual talent show at Burlington High School. I knew I had to sign up and perform. And guess what? You'll never believe what my talent was. I ended up performing in 2 talent shows during my time at Burlington High School. For the first one, I dressed up in a snazzy suit, channeling my inner Frank Sinatra. and saying New York, New York while dancing to the rhythm. For the second talent show, I decided to put my songwriting skills to the test. I wrote a heartfelt love song, somber and full of emotion. I even accompanied myself on the piano while my mom captured it all on her trusty camcorder. When I finished, the whole school erupted in applause. There were tears in the audience, actual tears. Girls came up to me afterward, hugging me and congratulating me. Did I just serenade the entire audience? Must have. And yes, this is the truth. No fabrications, no exaggerations. At 13, I picked up the acoustic guitar. I started taking lessons from our youth pastor, practicing relentlessly, sometimes until my fingers bled. I kept going, and within 6 months, I had developed calluses. My fingertips became rock solid. I fell in love with the acoustic guitar. From that point on, piano and guitar became my instruments of choice. In an earlier episode, I mentioned not playing guitar during the India missions trip. It wasn't because I couldn't, it was because I was still inexperienced. Another team member, more skilled at the time, handled the guitar playing throughout the trip. Was I frustrated or disappointed? Not really. I may have carried a little bitterness at first, but eventually I let it go. The trip wasn't about me. That lesson stayed with me and shaped how I approached youth ministry during my time stationed in Germany. Over the years, I played at youth camps, led worship sessions, and performed in front of hundreds of people at various churches. Leadership has always been a part of who I am. I've led worship teams, what some call church bands, selected songs for Sunday services, ministered to youth, and taught students. I did all of this without initially realizing I was capable of it. Leadership came naturally to me then, and it still does now. Since 2003, I've written over 40 original songs, most of which are devotional songs dedicated to Jesus. What does that mean, you ask? It means that my Christian faith has inspired my songwriting. Every lyric I've written came straight from my heart and the time I've spent reading the Bible. I am madly in love with Jesus. Whoa, wait, Daniel. What do you mean by madly in love? Let me explain. Jesus saved my life from certain death, and when I accepted him into my life at 13 years old, everything changed. I felt called to be a minister. I am a minister. In fact, a dear friend of mine recently referred to me as a pastor. Honestly, I wasn't comfortable with that title because I've drifted from God in recent years. This might be a story for another podcast, but in short, yes, it's possible to walk away from God. Why did I walk away? I was hurt by the church. I felt unappreciated and used, like I was pouring so much of myself into ministry and getting very little in return. When I received an offer for my first UX researcher role, I thought I'd be too busy to stay involved in church activities. Gradually, I gave up songwriting, recording, and playing in churches. Over time, I stopped altogether. About 2 months ago, I found myself weeping uncontrollably in my car. It was early, 6:45 in the morning, right after I dropped my wife off at work. As I drove back home, the song Healer came on in the car. The first verse goes like this. You hold my every moment. You calm my raging seas. You walk with me through fire and heal all my disease. I trust in you. Hearing those words hit me like a tsunami. Back in February 2024, I was laid off from a company that I truly believed had my best interests at heart. They invested in me, sent me to Leaders Academy, and I was producing great work. So when I got the pink slip, my heart shattered. I was sad, angry, and frustrated. That layoff sent my life spiraling, eventually bringing me to that morning in my car, overcome with emotion. I'll be honest, there was a time when I considered ending it all. I recorded a video of what I thought would be my last will and testament, and I began video journaling my struggles. Those early journals were dark, reflecting the pain and hopelessness I was feeling. But that morning in the car, God stepped in. He wrapped me in his love in a way I can't fully explain. Somehow, his voice cut through all the noise and chaos in my mind. I heard him clearly. I love you still, Daniel. Music has always had a profound impact on my life, even when I wanted to walk away from it all. When I sold nearly all my musical gear, from my acoustic guitar to my electric guitar and amps, I couldn't fully escape it. It's in my DNA. I'm a creative through and through. The only things I kept were my keyboard, this microphone I'm using to record this podcast, and an interface. Music has shaped who I am, through every high and low, and it's a big reason I'm still here today. If you're listening right now, and you're in the same dark place I was, please hear me. I love you. Jesus loves you. You are not alone. If you need someone to talk to, please send me a message. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Lineal Rights. That's LENIELWRITES. Surrounding yourself with good people and positivity can make all the difference. Thank you for tuning into my podcast. A quick note, this podcast takes time, effort, and heart to script, record, and edit. If you've been inspired by what you've heard, any donation, no matter what, would mean the world to me. Your support helps me continue sharing my story and creating meaningful content. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you'll come back for more of Lineal Rights.